Our movie today is about a girl from another world and a driver lost in the streets. She is Hale, a rich girl living in a world full of luxury. And he is Rosker, a simple young man, a driver running away from a heavy past and a harsher reality. The difference between them is like the sky and the earth. She never imagined that one moment could change her life, but when she meets him, everything flips upside down. He enters her world and she sees in him something she never saw amidst all the money and palaces. So, will they be able to choose each other? Or will reality choose a different ending for them? And is love enough, even if it goes against everything? Our movie starts with Rosker sitting in a jail cell, remembering when he was fighting with someone at the bar he works at. He wants to know the whereabouts of a certain person, but the man refuses to tell him. Rosker keeps pressuring him until the man convinces him that he really doesn't know where that person is, and Rosker calms down and believes him. Then a police officer comes and lets him out because the person who filed the complaint withdrew it. When he gets out, he finds his best friend Fada waiting for him and giving him his taxi so he can start working. Suddenly, he sees our heroine Hyle in front of him, and he keeps staring at her, clearly taken by her from the very first glance. But she looks at him with disgust and turns her face away. Then both of them go to a man named Levan who appears to be the bar's boss, and he argues with Rosker because he owes him a lot of money. Even if he sells his motorcycle, he'll never be able to pay that debt. Levan tells him, "Go bring 100,000 LRA, then come and take your bike because I won't give it to you." So Rosker grabs his clothes from the bar and leaves. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Nama keeps arguing with her husband, the gardener, because she made all the food, and he thinks she didn't do anything. Hyle's family arrives and asks her sister Halal how she did on her exams. She tells them she's sure she'll come out top of her class and wants to enter the fine arts college. Their mother wants her to go to a different college. At that moment, her friend Igor shows up and takes her to their favorite restaurant. There, the guy who likes her named August shows up, but she can't stand him. He gets upset and leaves, then promises his friend that one day he'll make that girl chase after him. Back to Rosker. Fate tells him he saw a girl yesterday and fell in love with her at first sight. He tells him she's rich and has a lot of money and thinks he's rich and cultured like her. Fate says he's going to stay close to her until she falls in love with him and they get married. On the other side, we see Hyle's friend telling her that she met a guy and fell for him. He's rich and owns a car showroom, but her friend keeps laughing at her. Then back to the other side. Fate asks Rosker to take a customer because he's going to meet the girl he loves. They keep arguing until he finally agrees and gets in the car with the customer. Suddenly, she breaks down crying, so he tries to calm her down. She recognizes him from the bar he used to work at, and when she finds out he quit and needs a job, she gives him her business card. Then we return to Fate, and we find out that the girl he's seeing is S.A., Hyle's friend. She gets really happy when she sees him. Meanwhile, Rosker remembers when he was a child and his father used to beat his mother because he couldn't find the money she had hidden in the house. He kept choking her while Rosker watched everything, heartbroken over his mother. Back to the present, it's raining and Hale gets into Rosker's car and starts yelling at him because he almost hit her with the car. In her frustration, she breaks something on the car door, so she apologizes and tells him she'll pay for the damage. He mocks her when she says she has a lot of money and tells her life must be easy for you since her daddy is rich. She gets upset and tells him to let her out of the car, but he feels sorry for her, gives her his jacket, and lets her back in. At that moment, S invites Futter to her party and asks him to bring his friend, so he immediately agrees. After Rosker and Hyle leave, he wants to annoy her more and says, "Looks like you're into me." She walks off and forgets her bracelet. At the party, Etch calls Fate and he tells her that he and his friend have arrived. Rosker gets mad at Fate for tricking him and saying they were going to a good job, and Rosker says he's going to try to collect money to get his motorcycle back. Suddenly, he gets a call from Asma and his friend enters the party, leaving him behind. Fate meets Hai and lies to them, saying he works at a car showroom and is about to start in construction. As soon as Hai sees Rosker, she realizes that Fate is a liar and starts arguing with him. Of course, Rosker doesn't understand what's going on, so her boyfriend steps in and a big scene breaks out at the party. Hai slaps him, and he tells her she'll regret what she did and walks out. She follows him and pushes him into the water, but they both fall in together. When he leaves the party, he runs into people who hate him. One of them challenges him to a race and says if he wins, he'll get his bike back and a lot of money too. The police arrive at the scene, so they agree to meet again another time. Rosker goes back to working at the bar, and the girl who had ridden in his taxi shows up and thanks him for helping her last time. From the way she looks at him, it's clear she likes him. The next day, Etch goes out with Farda, and Oguz takes pictures of the taxi and decides to destroy it. After that, he goes to see Heil. Later that night, Ozan calls Rosker and tells him that the two people came around asking about fate. At that time, Rosker is standing in a remote area when two men attack him and start beating him up. Luckily, help arrives just in time. And since he's skilled in martial arts, he manages to take them all down, but they escape. He chases them on his bike and ends up going to Oguz, starting a fight with him. Oguz gets scared and runs away. When Hale finds out what happened, she goes with Rosker because she's worried about SA. He takes her to the house and asks if Oguz is her ex-boyfriend. EAY is the one who asks him if he's jealous over Heil. He responds, "Why would I be jealous over her?" But both of them clearly seem tense. When Heil sees he's hurt, she decides to treat his wounds and apologizes to him, which makes him really happy. But then she gets annoyed with him again, and they start arguing. She was about to leave, but he stops her, and it becomes clear they're both starting to fall for each other. Afterward, he takes her home, and her entire family starts yelling at her. Her father shouts at Rosker and warns him that if he sees him near his daughter again, he'll deal with him. Hale goes to her room, and her mother orders her not to see that boy again. After that, she calls Rosker and apologizes for what happened. So, he forgives her and asks her if they can have breakfast together. She agrees right away. The next day, they meet up and are really happy. She tells him she wants to ride a bike, so he takes her and starts teaching her. When she falls, her leg gets injured and she can't walk at all, so he decides to help her. Then he realizes she was faking it and just wanted him to carry her. He goes and buys her some sweets, and she tells him it's her first time eating them. He's really surprised and asks her, "Wait, you've never been out on the street when you were a kid?" Her facial expression changes, and they sit together as he starts telling her about his childhood. He tells her he was born and raised in Izmir, and that his mother's life ended when he was 10 years old. Since then, he's never seen his father again. He tells her that the taxi actually belongs to Fart, and sometimes he works on it, and that at night, he works in a bar. She tells him that she's in her final year of university and is going to become a lawyer, but that's her father's dream, not hers. Her real dream is to sing and become famous. Later that night, while she's at home, Ash calls her and tells her there's going to be a race and insists that she has to come right away. So Hai calls Rosker and begs him not to join the race because she's scared for him. She tries hard to convince him, but it doesn't work. So she decides to go herself. She makes a deal with her sister Halal to help her sneak out without their parents knowing. She arrives at the place just as the race begins and Rosker ends up winning. Hale is there and a girl comes up to her and tells her to stay away from Rosker because he belongs to her. A big fight breaks out between the girls and Rosker shows up. Hale tells him that if she ever sees him racing again, she'll end him. He's actually happy that she's so worried about him, and they go sit together by the beach. As soon as she gets back home, she finds her mother waiting for her. Her sister apologizes to her, and her mother warns her not to fall in love with the wrong guy. She tells her that the right person is anyone except the drifter she's been seeing. Hale stays in her room, upset, and she's shocked when Rosker tells her he's outside her house. He climbs in through the window, and she's scared her father might catch them. He asks her if she loves him or not. He tells her that when he looks into her eyes, he feels fear, and that she's the only person he's ever met who truly made his heart beat. The next morning, she wakes up and finds a letter he left for her. And when she reads it, she's extremely happy. That night, they meet again, and he wants to tell her about his past, but she refuses to hear it. Later, Adench Heil's father meets Rosker and threatens him. He tells him that if he doesn't stay away from his daughter, he'll throw him in jail and destroy his life because he knows everything about his past. He doesn't let Rosker even finish talking. So, Rosker goes and sits by the sea upset and remembers when his father was fighting with his mother and pulled a gun on her. She was begging him not to do it, but he did it anyway and sat beside her in shock. Then his friend Metin shows up and tells him that he's a police officer and can't live life behind bars. Back to the present. Rosker is riding his motorcycle and suddenly gets into an accident. At the mansion, her family decides they're going to travel to Europe to keep her away from the guy she loves. But when she finds out, she refuses and leaves the house. She decides to go to him and keeps trying to call, but by that time, the ambulance had already taken him away. She goes to Faye, but he doesn't know anything about Rosiger's whereabouts. She goes back home feeling anxious about him. When her mom speaks to her, Heil tells her mother that she's living the life they want, not the life she wants. Meanwhile, Rosger is in the operating room, but they manage to save him. Fate goes to see him, and Rosger asks him not to tell Heil anything because he's decided to stay away from her. He calls her and tells her that he's out of the country, but will be back very soon. They argue, and he hangs up on her, and she gets upset by the way he spoke to her and starts crying. A month passes, and Fate sees that Rosger is suffering, so he decides to take him to her whether he likes it or not. They argue in the car until Rosger forces him to stop and gets out. Leaving, he starts remembering when he was a child and his father and his uncle Mateen came to him and tricked him into saying in front of the police that he was the one holding the gun and accidentally shot his mother. They told him he'd only spend a few months in jail and get out quickly. Now in the present, Medden and his father are sitting with him, and Medden keeps arguing with him, overwhelmed with guilt for what they did to Rosger. At the same time, we see Heil and her friend, and this guy shows up and introduces himself as Mert. He used to go to high school with them. It becomes clear he has a crush on Heil and wants to take her out, but she refuses because she can't stand him. She goes to the place where she used to meet Rosger, and then she heads to the bar drunk and starts arguing with him. She sees another girl defending him and walks out. He follows her and tries to calm her down because she's furious. He tells her that he's a bad person and doesn't deserve her because he was the reason his mother's life ended when he was 10 years old, but she forgives him easily because she knows he was wronged. The next day, she finds a letter from him saying that they're not meant to be together. Later, while he's at the bar, a man named Owner shows up asking about his colleague Levent and gives Rosger a book to pass on to him. The book is titled Love is Just a Moment, and they both start talking about it. Inspired by what he read, Rosger decides to go to Heil. He doesn't want to leave her ever again. He asks her to give him a second chance. But suddenly, Heil collapses, and the doctor informs her father that her illness has returned. Her father recalls when she was a little girl sitting in a wheelchair, and her mother came to her telling her that since she recovered once, she could beat it again. Halal, her sister, gets into a heated argument with their mother, blaming her for putting so much pressure on Heil. At home, their mother also argues with her husband over Rosiger. At that moment, the family insists Heil should travel to Europe for treatment, but she snaps at them and says she won't go anywhere. Then the devastating truth is revealed. She has cancer. She breaks down, telling them she doesn't want to go through the pain again, the hair loss, or the bruises on her body. The doctor explains that it'll take a month or two before she starts to get better, but she never does. Once she calms down, she decides to go out with Rosger. He takes her to the pub where he works and lets her perform. She's overjoyed while singing. Then he takes her to the place she loves most, and she bursts into tears, happy just to be with him. But suddenly, her life ends peacefully as she sleeps on his shoulder. Rosger sobs, unable to accept what's happened. Sometime later, he's seen standing in front of her grave. Everyone gathers for her funeral. Halal stays in her sister's room until their father walks in. He brings her a big box of paints and tells her he's going to help her achieve her dream, getting into the Fine Arts Academy. He apologizes for not helping Heil live her dream, and he breaks down in tears, filled with regret. Later, Halal goes to Rosger and gives him a letter Heil had written for him. In it, she says she loves him because he helped her live everything she ever dreamed of, and that if her life had to end, she'd want it to end with him. Rosger is overcome by memories of their time together. In the letter, she also says that when she was young, she was always afraid her life would end, but when she was with him, that fear disappeared. Then Rosger's boss calls him and tells him that the pub now belongs to him because he's going off to enjoy his own life. That night, Rosger goes to see his father, intent on killing him with a gun. But just as he's about to do it, he remembers Hai's words and he stops. He turns and walks away. He goes walking along the shore where they used to meet all the time. But sadly, this time he's alone. And that's where today's recap ends. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments.